Dr. Tallha Abdulrazaq is independent defence and strategic analyst specialising in Middle East affairs. Thank you very much indeed for coming on the programme. Your thoughts on what the new Supreme Leader, we think the new Supreme Leader has said, read out on his behalf, particularly about using the Strait of Hormuz as a weapon of war, in effect?
I mean, Iran has been threatening this for decades. You know, every time there's been a threat towards Iranian security, one of the first things that comes out of their mouths is, you know, we're going to close the Strait of Hormuz, and either you play ball or there's going to be a global catastrophe for 20% of the global energy supply. So clearly, it's not really a bluff, because, I mean, I've been listening to a lot of these so-called experts, and with respect to their analytical abilities, maybe when it came to the political aspect of things, when it comes to the military aspect of things, they're far off the mark. So they're saying, for example, oh, well, you know, Iran can make all these threats as much as it likes, but once the US sinks its navy, and it's sunk most of the Iranian navy by this point, and then there's no longer really a threat to the Strait of Hormuz. But that's not really true, because the strait is extremely narrow. So Iran fields, you know, artillery pieces that could actually saturate the area with fire. It's got missile capabilities that can, you know, at standoff range with cruise missiles and ballistic missiles with anti-ship capabilities. It's obviously got its drones as well. And this is a very, very narrow strait, something like 30 kilometers wide. So tankers moving through this area, they also have to be spaced out. It's not like you can just cram them into single file. You know, it's not, you know, people have this kind of strange imagination when it comes to this sort of stuff, but they have to move while being spaced out, and they will often come within about 15 kilometers of the Iranian coast. You know, that's easily
close
strikeable
enough,
range. Yes.
And it's not just, of course, the Iranians from Iranian soil that are, or have been in the past, shooting at these tankers. We've seen the Houthis do it from Yemen as well in the past. How much is it in Iran's interests to have the Strait of Hormuz shut, given they too supply oil?
It's absolutely in their interests. I mean, the problem here is that they are facing an existential threat. So the stakes for them losing are significantly worse than them, for example, suffering when it comes to people not being able to buy their oil, right? So they're looking at regime change, and that's what they're afraid of. So they're looking primarily at regime security. They're willing to take that hit. Add on to the fact that they were under significant sanctions anyway, so they're not really benefiting too much from the international oil trade. So they're like, you know what? If we're going to be feeling this pain, we're going to make sure the entire planet is going to feel this pain with us. And then that's, they are hoping anyway, going to generate the political pressure that will force Trump and the Israelis to back off.
And by backing off, do you think that means that the Iranians will, quote, open the Strait of Hormuz, or at least be given a kind of off-ramp to declare some form of victory that might allow them to do that?
See, I think they will, but this is what's interesting. So the US and Israel, you know, kind of had the initiative when they started the war, but they begin to lose the strategic initiative once they decide that they know, you know, they've had enough and they want some kind of an off-ramp. Because Iran could decide, you know, I think it would be inadvisable, but it could decide, no, we decide when this war ends. We want significantly more concessions. We're willing to take more of a battering and a pounding because we're being pounded anyway, and there's not much left, and there's a lot of infrastructure damage and a lot of civilian population internally displaced, about 3 million or so people. So we're willing for this to continue on, and we're going to continue to drive oil prices up and close the Strait of Hormuz. Now, if that happens, what's the US going to do? Its only solution is to engage significant enough forces, potentially and likely ground forces, to create that buffer zone to push them away from the strait. And then they need to piecemeal remove Iran's ballistic missile capability and prevent it from being able to strike at shipping.